Hello, Logik community. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Logik Live episode 121. That's a large number for those of you at home. Friendly faces in the chat already. David Kreitz, Valentine. Hello, Valentine. BJH. Man, what a great day. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to be saying this a bunch because I need everyone to remember this. Michael Landon, hello. Remember to register for the episode today because we have a very exciting giveaway. The giveaway is not your average giveaway. We're not giving away a Logik t-shirt or a Logik mug. This is hard ActionVFX credits right here, courtesy of our special guest today. So be sure to be registered because you got to be registered and you have to be here in the chat to win. Well, I sure talked about that a whole lot. Hello, everybody. That is it for the intro. I am your host, Jeff Kyle. Welcome to Logik Live, episode 121. Very excited to be here. Again, quick shout out to your registration. Please register for today so you have a chance to win amazing prizes. But before we get into it, I'm just going to quickly switch over to our slideshow to talk about some upcoming announcements and a message from our sponsors. This episode of Logik Live is brought to you by AJA, together with Flame since 2006. Hot Spring is the future of VFX outsourcing, connecting you to other artists from around the world to help get your projects done. You can find them at thehotspring.com. If you need Boris FX plugins, you can save 15% on nearly all of the Boris FX products. I have to choose my words carefully here now because of the new Syntheyes acquisition. The products over at the bottom of the screen here are the products you'll be able to get a heaping 15% discount on, standalone or subscription. We no longer have a discount code, but rather we have some discount links. So if you want to save 15%, head on over to logik.tv/BorisFX and click on one of the links there to lock in that awesome deal. If you like swag, we have a merch store where you too can own quite the smattering of Logik paraphernalia. Beanies, t-shirts, stickers, notebooks, AirPod cases, phone cases, and more. You can find the merch store on the logik.tv website. Thank you to all of the patrons who are subscribed on Patreon. Here is our up-to-date patron list. There they are. Big shout out to everyone here. We are at 161 patrons as of this week. A big thank you to everyone for supporting the community and helping it grow and thrive. If you would like to support what we're doing here on Logik, most of us do it because we want to, but there are a few bonus perks, because who doesn't like bonus perks, such as the post-show Q&A, where in this case, after today's show, we'll be heading on over to Zoom to chat some more with Luke, where you'll get a chance to ask him some more questions one-on-one, and he'll be able to cover anything that we didn't have time to answer here today during the live portion of the show. Head on over to patreon.com/LogikTV and support for as little as $5 a month. The Logik Forum is alive and well. This week's forum showcase is the IBC get-together thread, where none other than Sinan Viral, the Prince of Particles himself, shared a bunch of pictures from a little get-together at IBC. It's great to see all these familiar faces laughing, having a good time. Gives me some fond memories of NAB this year at some similar events. I'm sure many of us wish we could be here at IBC, but we'll have to live vicariously through them and enjoy these pictures from afar. Hope to see more pictures as the week goes on. Of course, the forum goes hand in hand with our Discord server. That's where you'll find your day-to-day flame chats, questions, comments, hangout. It's the conversational arm of the community, as I like to say, and it's a great way to ask a one-off question or have a quick chat. Join the conversation today and click the Discord link at forum.logik.tv and come on over. In the Logik tutorial world, Logik Academy are our free tutorials here on YouTube by contributors who have been generous with their time and posted about a cool idea or something they're knowledgeable or passionate about. There is our list, our most recent ones at the bottom right. Sinan Viral, familiar name. Flame Particle System Part 2, and Graziella Gandolfi's Intro to Matchbox Shaders. The topics are many, an excellent variety. I've been pushing myself to get another one out on Mocha recently, and I did just get a Mocha subscription, so there's no excuse now. So if any of these sound cool, check them out because they are all available for free on the Logik YouTube channel. Big shout out and thank you to Autodesk for sponsoring these videos. And of course, speaking of Autodesk, Flame 2024.1 is out as of a few weeks ago. We at Assembly have upgraded and are enjoying it every day. I know a lot of the time you can't upgrade when you want to. It's more about the facility and your upgrade schedule and the IT team, but best of luck to you and your ability to get that latest version. And that's it. I managed to get through that in 5 minutes flat. Not bad. I just have to get out of this. Can I do it? Oh, that's the wrong button. Hello. Ooh, we did it. Everyone, my guest today is Luke Thompson from ActionVFX, and he has some great stuff to show us, and I'm very excited for him to be here. The last time he was here was 2 years ago, and ActionVFX has grown tremendously. They have remained at the top of their game as far as being the go-to stock footage venue for all of us in the VFX industry, and Luke is going to tell us about what he's done, how he's got there, and what's coming. So, Luke, hello, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. It's very good to be back. As you mentioned, it's been 2 years already, which is pretty crazy. So much has changed, but it's so cool to see. Just the Logik community still just maintaining, staying strong. So very, very thankful to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Of course, yes, staying strong. You were there. I believe you were episode 49. Not necessarily our infancy, maybe our teenage years. I have no. I mean, in order to
is 121 like, all right, we're on the way? Like that's it.
I don't. I was just about to say maybe I should choose my words carefully. We don't really have like episode 200 is the end. No, I don't know. So who knows? I don't know. We're perpetually in our midlife now. So here we are.
I like it.
But I remember seeing on the website, I forget if we talked about it too much, but like I don't remember what the number was when you were on episode 49, but now you're pushing 10,000 VFX elements, I think.
Yeah, we hopefully within the next release or two, if we haven't already crossed it, that 10,000 individual asset mark. So that's 10,000 mostly, as you know, video clips of fire, blood, explosions, birds, people, everything in between that could be hopefully useful for visual effects compositors. And so it's a lot of time and love has gone into those over the almost 8 years now, which is pretty wild.
8 years, that's a long time. And I can't help but notice the chat saying from Carlos, noting that it really looks like we're in the same room here. Just the nature of like my curtain end, and I think the position
to
the camera.
Oh yeah, so, I'll kind of like shift over just a little bit. Oh hey.
That's great. But before we get too deep into ActionVFX, I'm always a huge fan of just kind of like the personal element, the human element. I'd love to know how you found ActionVFX, how you stumbled upon where you are now, your kind of like VFX and ActionVFX journey, and then I guess what it means to be a chief operating officer at ActionVFX. What does that look like? And then we'll get into the nitty gritty. But take it.
Yeah, sounds great. So I was fortunate enough to be the first official employee at ActionVFX as we started to grow and expand the team. We have a sole founder whose name is Rodolphe Pierre-Louis. He's originally from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, but him and I just got connected at a local After Effects user group meetup. And in our town, being pretty rural, we're based in East Tennessee, which isn't what you think of when you think of like a huge VFX hub, because it's not. So when there was an After Effects meetup, it kind of caught my attention and was also something that was generally interested in anyway. And so that was my first time at this event. That was his first time at this event. And we got connected there, didn't talk for a couple of weeks after that, just kind of kept in touch lightly through social media. And then he had posted, because he had what at the time was just an action-based stock footage pack for his solopreneur company, Rotipolis. And so he needed someone to create some behind-the-scenes footage. So I was originally hired as a freelance videographer for Ro, and what was just an additional pack of action-related assets on Rotipolis. But what ended up happening is we just one, realized that we worked really well together. We had skills that complemented each other's, but also when we had that one, production, we traveled from Tennessee to Chicago, and it, in the most transparent and honest way possible, it did not go well. It was not a smooth shoot, even though we did get some clips from it.
Wow.
But it was so much, there's so much complexity in merging these two disciplines of, pyrotechnicians and the actual film technical capturing side to make a good element. And so that was really just a huge experiment and a huge test run, but we didn't know that at the time. And so we were able to
experience too, right? Because it's like, from
Yeah.
our perspective, you might think, oh yeah, you just go out and shoot the explosions, just get a camera and there you go. But I'm sure there's much more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also, like, we had a couple challenges. Like, there wasn't a big company doing it well that we could just kind of follow in their footsteps or mimic. So there was also a lot of pioneering of, no one's really done this the way that we're wanting to do it before. And, intrinsically, that's also like this really exciting thing that helps me wake up every morning. That's like, there are some very complex puzzles and we can learn from different industries, but we don't know what we're doing or quite how we're going to do it, but we know that this is the thing that we're wanting to do. And so that was kind of this really cool intrinsic feeling, I think. So there's a lot of natural and organic chemistry with myself and Ro. And during this, this shoot, he had realized that he could sell those products on his website, but in terms of quality and the overall vision of what he was wanting to do, he quickly realized that it needs to be better and we need to come up with some other solutions on how we can approach this. And so we had all this behind the scenes content, kind of showing the process of what we're wanting to do. We had some demo examples, and all of that content really became our proof of concept for the business and the website that we were hoping to create. And so we ended up taking all of that to Kickstarter, and we prior to the shoot, we had surveyed hundreds of artists. So asking them specifically what they were wanting and what they were looking for, what they felt was lacking in existing stock footage. And we just built everything around that framework of user feedback. So thankfully, we ended up with we had 446 Kickstarter backers over 30 days. And then our original goal was to raise $20,000, but we came in right under $60,000 at $59,000 over 30 days. And that was essentially a pre-order for the first iteration of products that we had. And there were some, I want to say 37 lucky individuals that were able to pay $500 one time for lifetime access to any ActionVFX products. So they're very thankful anytime I catch up with any of those backers
I bet
for their ROI.
Because I've done a couple Kickstarters and I've also been fortunate. I've never done a big gamble like that, because they're going all in and they're saying if this company succeeds to the extent that it actually has, then they make out like a bandit if they're using it.
Yeah, especially depending on licensing types and stuff. Now having over 10,000 individual assets, it can rake up the price pretty fast if you're using in a studio or all those different things. So it's cool to reward those that were, with us from the very beginning and helping us get our start. So all of that to say, 2016, March of 2016 was the first time I was able to go full time with ActionVFX, starting in like a project management capacity, and then as we started to grow the team, seeing where the different needs, where the different bottlenecks, and just trying to address those different things as we scaled and as we continued to grow.
It's really cool to hear the story, and because I think a bunch of us have been to different stock footage sites, but I don't think we've really heard the story behind it. And I think your story is a nice touching one, and it's great to understand that before we dig in. And it puts some good context into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, thanks. And that's another thing that really means a lot to us as artists. Um, when starting the company, it was, we can't be this faceless entity because there's enough of those. There's always going to be these huge conglomerates that are just acquiring other people and bringing their assets or their stock footage under their umbrella. But quality assurance and quality control is always our name of the game. So I would rather, and because I truly believe that most artists would have 10 very usable, very high quality clips than 100 or even 1,000 of these are pretty good and I could probably use some of them. Because if you've been a compositor for very long, you probably already have your 10 things that you know works really well, and you can just tweak and modify those things as needed. So that's something that we try to continue to have in mind, because there's always this natural wanting to compete with just the numbers game. But we need to recognize that as Action VFX, yes, we want variety, but quality at the end of the day is always going to win out. So that's another thing that has really just been embedded into like our core values and our DNA as a company.
That's great. What a great philosophy to have. And it's great to hear it from you. And it's so cool to hear that you were like employee number one. That sure, there's like the owner, I guess, of the company, but you're
The
kind of
founder.
like the founder, yeah. But you're the guy. You are the guy.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. And our working relationship, I cannot brag enough on Ro and how good he's been to me over the years, but also how good he is to the entire team. That's not something that a lot of people get like a public spotlight on if you're not in the day to day. But yeah, he is very much a stand-up guy, and that was another reason why our chemistry for working together just was so natural, because there are types of business that would approach us and say, hey, we want to buy things from you, but you need to sign off on these things and we need these types of releases. And when all of these ethical questions start popping up and you're in your infancy as a business, that really shows a lot too. So if there's certain types of business that you don't want to go into or you don't want to support because they're contributing to, like, one very practical example is some people wanted us to proactively pursue selling our VFX assets to military contractors so that when they're displaying and demoing what their weapons can do, they use our VFX as kind of like a previs, if you will. But because those are real weapons, that's something that ethically we didn't feel comfortable supporting. And of course, with the nature of the business, it's always a possibility a freelancer could purchase something and still use it. But it's very different if that's something that we're cognitively pursuing and knowingly trying to go after that certain type of business. So that's just one very quick example of all of these ethical guidelines that start to pop up. And all of this is just a way to say that he's a very stand-up guy. And I'm very much looking forward to our business partnership as we continue to grow throughout the years.
That's awesome. It's great to hear. I think those little snippets just create even more context and just make us even more happy to be working with you and having you on the show here. But so we're about to get into the thick of it here. Luke is going to tell us what Action VFX is and what it's all about. But I'm patting myself on the back for remembering two things. Everybody, all of you viewers at home. Again, there's a giveaway. We're giving away $1,000 of Action VFX credits, courtesy of Luke. Courtesy of
Team.
Luke. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it.
But in order to get it, you got to be registered. So make sure that you're registered at logiclive.com, and you have to be here. When I call your name, you got to say hello. It's one of those serious giveaways. We want to make sure that you're here and you're not just some amorphous thing that's just a name. So just hang out. We're giving it away at the end, so hopefully I'll tell you right now, there's not a whole lot of people who registered. It's looking like 20, so chances are good that
chances are very good.
Yeah, so,
much better than the lottery.
Yeah, much better than the lottery. It's real. So I will let you take away what Action VFX is, and let me know if you want to share your screen, and we can make that happen.
Cool. Yeah. I guess I can show the website really quick. Most people may already have a pretty good idea of who we are and what we do, but just in case not, we specifically are serving visual effects compositors with how I describe it is just very niche stock footage. So most of our end products are video files in different professional formats. So we'll usually have a ProRes flavor of everything that we have, just because of the compatibility across the board. But then we'll also have EXR sequences. We've been getting more into ACES color space. And so trying to really keep an ear to the ground with what artists are needing and what they're preferring. So that's just kind of the very quick overview of what we are, who we are as a business. And the last time that I was on Logik Live, as Jeff mentioned, about 2 years ago, we were getting ready to announce and release our people and crowd effects. So I think all we had then was Concert Crowds Volume 1 and then Sports Crowds Volume 1. So those were pilot products, if you will. During the early pandemic, we saw a huge need and request for people to be able to fill stadiums and populate their VFX shots. But because of the restrictions being so heavy, especially in any productions in LA, they were just drastically limited with the actual talent that they could have on set. And so this was one, very quick and I say easy way. Easy for the end artist. It was not super easy for us or our team, but where we could film very specific angles. So a lot of these are also, you'll notice that they're lined up and synchronized with each other with all of the actions. And so if there's a sports stadium that you're filling and you've got a front row of people that you're wanting to, maybe your main actors are on the front row, so you have the second through fifth row, but they score a goal and you want them to all stand up and start like cheering and doing their celebration emote, if you will. All of those actions are happening at the same time code for each of these clips. And so the actions are going to be different because they're different actors, but it really helps when it comes to just being very practical to use. And so if you're needing to put them on particle systems, particle cards, if you're comping in Nuke or Flame or for anywhere else, it makes it very quick and easy to fill out these stadiums. And so we do have some different types of crowd effects now. As you can see, I just closed straight out of there. But we've got like warm weather extras, people walking around, very exciting stuff, very exhilarating, especially compared to explosions that we have on the website. People doing the same thing in cold weather apparel. And then, of course, we've got some more business stuff. So it's like people, we also have incorporated a lot of treadmills and more motion to them to make them a bit more dynamic in different scenarios and different situations. But it is also cool to see clip count. We had 330 in volume 1 and of sports crowds and concerts. And so we've been able to just add so many more since we were last on Logik Live. So I think that's also a really cool thing because it's not just people and crowds that we've been adding to the library. We've been very, very consistent, and huge shout out to our production team for being able to maintain such consistency on those releases. So it's been a lot. I think we actually have, we've got a little release schedule. So you can look back at each month what new collections have been released.
Oh, that's great. That's like patch notes for like a game.
Yeah, that's really it. And so, of course, you can go all the way back because it just keeps going and going and going. And then even back in 22, you can see what different products were released. And so this also just helps us internally for remembering. One thing that I'm really bad about, because we release stuff so frequently and so regularly, is just forgetting to communicate that to users. So it's like, hey, we sent out this one email, there's this new thing. And then someone will be on set for 6 months or working in a different department for like a year and come back and be like, I had no idea your library has doubled in size. And so those are other things too that is always really important for me to make sure that we're communicating properly, is just all of the amount of stuff that we have. And then a date is coming very soon for underwater particles and underwater bubbles. So that's going to be our next release. But
That's
I'll just
cool.
leave that. I'll just leave that Easter egg right here because it hasn't been announced yet.
Very cool. That's a nice little bonus upcoming sneak peek. I love how it's so true that it's like niche. It's not exactly your average stock footage library. And I think those little touches, the time code, there's like a little touch where they're all synced up. Those are the kinds of things that I think anyone who's actually doing the work would so appreciate.
Yeah. And that's, we are our target audience. And so a lot of times we'll just say, what would we want in this scenario? But I cannot stress enough how great our community is as visual effects artists of actually giving us feedback, because we are still a very small team. And the fact that we put such an emphasis on it since our Kickstarter, that's just how we continue to A/B test new products. But even outside of that, it's like, what's the website experience like? One of the things that I totally forgot to mention is, I guess 2 months ago now, was our huge launch of our new website. And so that's been a pretty long and ambitious undertaking. So since 2016, we have added new things to the website, but it's never been like a full, complete redesign from the ground up. And so that's been another thing where we've taken all this user feedback and used it to inform how the website's built. But with it still being fairly new, only 2 months or so in launch, we're still saying, what can we do better and how can we find all the bugs and then improve all of the things that aren't bugs but are just less of a preferred user experience. And so we've been finding different ways as a company to just make it the best that it can possibly be. And again, it's harder as a small company. You have much more limited resources, but that doesn't really stop us from working as hard as we can, as smart as we can, and just trying to attack the biggest, most ambitious thing that we can go for.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, it's such a process, isn't it? That like constant development and upgrading and moving the bar forward. But
yeah,
good job staying ahead of it.
Thanks. It never ends, and it's always something.
We have one question in the chat here. Thank you, BJH. But first of all, Michael Landon agrees with me. Crowd shots being in sync is a great touch. But BJH has a question, and I think they just want to know, maybe on the production side, since you would have this special information. They're used to having 1 to 3 good selects out of about 10 tries. How many does it take to get those selects? Like, how many times are you shooting those explosions before you get something that you're willing to put on the site, for example?
Yeah, that is. I've always been trying to quantify like what's the percentage of keeps versus just discards, because our own quality standards that we set for ourselves are so high. I would say that, and thankfully we've gotten better at filming and planning, so that has also changed the numbers a little bit. But I would say there was a time very early on where we would probably only keep 25% of what we shot. And so a lot of that is just figuring it out. You can do R&D, but it's different than, it's so hard to when you have a professional pyrotechnician coming in to art direct them, while also having your tech specs nailed down, because then you have, well, are we going higher frame rate, or is the resolution good enough, or are we going to lower the resolution to try to do like 120 frames? And so it's this constant like back and forth. And then you have like lens selection. Is it going to be tall enough? So a lot of things will shoot vertically with the camera vertical, just to maximize the resolution on the sensor. And all of those different things are always coming into play. And so it's a weird constant trade-off. But all of that to say, I wish we kept more than we have. But that's just because the quality varies, or everything will be perfect, and then you'll launch one of these explosions after like a 35-minute reset time, and then the wind will blow in a really weird way. You'll get this huge gust of wind, or the explosion doesn't ignite the right way, and so it looks really lopsided. And it's like, well, it's less usable. Sometimes it's variety, but sometimes it's just not there. And so there's all these other factors that come into play. So it's very difficult on those really big things like explosions, especially considering the cost could range from $100 to $300 per one that happens. So it can kind of just depend. And a lot of that's like just straight up supplies that are disintegrating before your eyes.
Explosion supplies.
Explosion supplies.
A little bit of what you mentioned, I think, will resonate with some people here, because I know a number of people in the chat are VFX supervisors by trade. So they're flame artists, but they also go on set very, very frequently to supervise and direct the VFX portion of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think it's a certain kind of mind you have to have when you're VFX supervising for stock footage. I think that would be very different from normal footage. Are there some things that you have learned, or that, and maybe this is another question, is it you who's pretty much driving the VFX supervision? Do you have other people who come in who help do the VFX supervision for these shoots? And what have you learned along the way?
Yeah, so very early on, having a super small team, having 3 to 5 full-time people, it was a lot of everyone trying to do everything. But now that we have expanded, so we're at less than 20 team members right now. The most we've ever had at one time, I think, is around the 25 mark. But that also includes, physical production, website development, software engineers, marketing, HR, operations. So there's so many different things that help keep a business successfully running outside of just production. But now, thankfully, we have very specialized in-house people that are dedicated to that on-set supervision. And so they, I would also venture to say it's very different from traditional VFX supervising. There are some things that may be able, you might notice them, but you can get by with them on a traditional production just because of the nature of what it is. But some of those exact same things are not able to be fixed later or patched up as easily, because so many people are going to be pixel peeping on those assets because they're using them in their own comps.
Yep.
Whereas it's a pretty different ball game on that side of things. And even I think people would probably hopefully appreciate the links that we go to for getting everything right in camera. Because that's a whole other thing where we would rather build something custom, like a custom rig that takes 3 days to build and dial in, than having to spend 7 to 14 days in post to replace or repair every clip that comes through. And a lot of that, again, is just you do the best with what you have. Sometimes we've had like our explosions, some of our bigger explosions collections that we filmed outside, you'll have these huge birds that just fly through a perfectly good explosion. And so our team will go ahead and roto those things out so that the end result for the artist is just as close to drag and drop and ready to go as possible. And so those are all of the like really small time consuming things that help make our library what it is. But I can also safely say that there's no one else, even if they do VFX stock, that's taking the measures and precautions that we do. And it's a huge pain. It is a massive pain. I wish that we could just not do it. We would save a ton of time, a ton of money, but that's who our business is, and that's who we are at the core of our DNA. And if we're not building those types of solutions that are world class, then we may as well get another job doing something else. And so that's really just our overall perspective on, if we're going to do something, we're going to be the best in the world at it. And so that kind of feeds all of the other things, but a lot of it just comes back down to quality. But yeah, there's a lot of differences between the onset VFX soups and the specific of stock assets and element shoots. It's fun. It's a sub-specialization inside of a sub-specialization.
Yeah, I mean, who can argue with your strive for perfection? It makes us feel comfortable that we're, my company is subscribed to ActionVFX, so it's just kind of like,
thank you.
Kind of like confirming the good reasoning for that.
Yes, perfect.
We have a slightly complicated question that comes up a lot in our Flame community here on Logic Live. It's a color space question. Michael Landon wants to know if the older elements are being converted to aces, and I think maybe as a larger question, if there is like an aces option or different color spaces other than Rec 709 in some of the stock footage elements.
Yeah, so as of right now with our current releases, how we're doing them is just, we've already started from here forward. But we are also exploring what it would look like for us to retroactively go back. That is quite the lift on our internal team to do that. So if we do decide to, it would be at the sacrifice of some other things. But that is something that we are really evaluating heavily. That's, if we do that, how far back can we go? And we already have some other shoots planned for maybe volume 3s of things. And would it make sense for us to just save our time and effort for the volume 3 that's high resolution on newer sensors and just make those ACES CG? And so those are some like internal things, but all of that to say, if there's a specific product or a category or something that you would really find extra helpful to be converted retroactively, we would love to hear about that. Because we may not be able to do 100% of all of our past assets, but if there's one thing that just would make a lot of sense for us to do that, then maybe that's where we could focus our time and energy.
I wonder if you have analytics on the popularity of some of those older assets, maybe like go down the list of most popular old assets from the top to the bottom, get where as far as you want. And that could be an option.
Yeah, that would be a good idea for us to take that route. We do some data informed. There's a lot of things, and I think this is with any industry, where people say like, oh, we really want this or we really need this. And then if we spend a lot of time and just upfront investment and people don't purchase it, then it's also really hard for us to, it's like, oh man, we really wanted to go out on a limb for this one. And so it's always a weird mix of trying to find those things that economically make sense for our business as well. Because at the end of the day, like, if we're poor business people and we're managing our stuff poorly, then we won't be in business for very long. And so that's another side of things where it's like, okay, we need quality and longevity. So that's always like the mix of, is what we're doing actually profiting the business so that we can add more people and grow? Or is it just helping us maintain where we're at? Because then that would also like slow production and stuff as well. So it's a weird balancing act.
Reminds me of the Flame development team actually coming on the show and talking about just that. It's like, do they if they want to listen to everybody, but they have to make these tough decisions and pick and choose who to listen to try to help the most people, because it could be this one or two really loud people who really want this feature, or in your case, really want this specific stock footage. But if it's only going to get you the 2 downloads as opposed to the 100,000 other people who aren't going to download it, then is it really worth it, unfortunately?
Yeah. I saw another question in the comments really quick. So I had just used Asus CG as an example. I properly should have just said Asus in general. But that's just another example of trading off compression rates versus file sizes, because that was another issue that users were reporting and being very specific about those compression containers, because even within one of them, it can make or break in one direction or the other. Because it's funny, you have all these huge, like very well-known studios, and half of them are like, yes, we would prefer to just have the largest files in existence. Like, just give them to us, we'll store them, it's no big deal. And then the other half of studios are like, we really would prefer for ActionVFX to just host and hold all the files, and then we'll just get them when we need them. And we want them to be smaller. And so it's, again, a weird mix of trying to see what makes sense inside of those color spaces. But overall, Asus is just an example of one of those different color spaces.
Makes sense to me. Thanks for answering. I think, if I remember correctly, did you want to go over to that prepared deck that you have to talk about current stuff and maybe even some future stuff on the horizon?
Yeah.
Maybe now's a good time. Got some good questions in, got some good backstory in. So we got the who you are, we got the what it is, and now let's maybe talk about what's coming, other than the little spoiler, the bubbles and
the product release. Yeah,
that sounds cool.
So this is something, if you're here and you're tuning into this right now, this is information that has not been publicly announced or released. So this is quite exclusive, and I'm very excited to share it with you. So before I dive in, I will also preface with, because I wanted to show some like really early stage stuff, there's a lot of early stage stuff. So big asterisk on different things that content or specifics are subject to change. So now that I'm protected.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the in the Autodesk Flame beta world, they call it a safe harbor statement. Please don't make any purchasing decisions based on what you see here, because it's subject to change. So there you go.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Cool. Oh, thanks. I keep turning the wrong way. So the best thing about all of this is there are no purchasing decisions, because everything I'm about to tell you about is 100% free. And so that's another right hook that I'm going to be coming in with. So let's jump over to this slide deck, because I'm so excited to talk about this. This is just a very quick overview. I think everyone here knows everything that I've just said. So thankfully, we're serving over 300,000 artists right now, which blows my mind every time that I see that number, because I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, we literally sell explosions for a living. How blessed are we to be able to get to do what we do? So this big announcement is coming in October, and it is called the Practice Footage Library by ActionVFX. And this is over 500 clips on launch day of professionally captured videos for learning and practicing visual effects. So whether, and this may be pretty self-explanatory to a lot of listeners, but just in case it's not, I've got some stuff to show you as well. So preface, you've seen our stuff before, but a quick overview of the Practice Footage Library is visual effects plates that don't have visual effects added to them yet, which is a very common thing that's needed. Everyone who's ever started in visual effects has probably encountered the problem of not having high quality professional things that you can practice on, or training material that you can use. Of course, sometimes if you'll buy like a usually pretty expensive tutorial or more in-depth thing that, again, usually you have to pay a decent amount of money for, is those will sometimes include plates that are pretty good. But even outside of that, you may not be able to use those for your own things outside of that tutorial or include them in your own demo reel. So this is something that is completely made for artists from the ground up. And here's some different, again, these are pretty early marketing graphics that have been created. So some of these are subject to change, but these are all examples of the types of plates that are going to be included inside of this. So there's a lot of different stuff with actors on green screen like this, and individual assets, driving plates. We're also going to be trying to package them together as scenes. And so one scene may incorporate 3 different techniques. So it may have 2D compositing for muzzle flashes, but it may also include a screen replacement for a phone. And so you have an over-the-camera shot where you're actually replacing the screen for that user. And as Rodolphe, our CEO, mentioned in the comments, it's all free, 100%. So I'm just going to keep saying free every 2 seconds because, hey, we got sound bites.
A live studio audience.
I love it.
Shout out to Rudolph for being here. That's awesome.
Yeah. So he also goes by Ro as well. But yeah, it's thanks for joining, man. I didn't know you were gonna make an appearance. So in this, as I mentioned, we have over 500 clips on launch day. We have some different things like these really cinematic spaceship shots is the phrase I'm trying to say, and just very dynamic with a lot of different camera movement, practical lighting on set. As you can imagine, blood and gore things as well. And then we're even hoping to launch with complete CG scenes as well. So if there's any specific 3D techniques, or if there's any other related assets needed to do that thing, we're hoping to really just make this home on our website the one-stop shop for people starting. I know Josh had also asked in the comments, Josh Lawrence, can they be used by educational institutions? And the answer is yes, absolutely. So we have already partnered with a couple larger organizations that you guys have definitely heard of. Maybe some of you have gone to school there, but just very large, nationwide and even globally recognized, more creative colleges and design schools that have already been using these things for a couple months. And so it's really cool to see all of the different aspects of visual effects that this need addresses, or this solution rather addresses, because you have individual artists that are wanting to get started, or maybe they are already started in the industry but haven't had the ability. I'm still constantly surprised that there are people that have done amazing productions, but they're not allowed to use those things for whatever reason in their own demo reels. And so it's really hard to convince someone that you can do high-level visual effects without being able to show them at scale. And so that's one component, but then you also have the educational institutions, so people that are teaching courses inside of schools or in online academies. And and even outside of that, we've also had some larger VFX studios that have their own internal training. And so especially given the state of the industry right now, with a lot of people on pause or unfortunately being laid off, this is really coming at a very strong time for people to start beefing up their own VFX reels. And then internally, if some of these larger studios have been able to maintain artists, then they're already using some of these things to help train them, so that whenever the strikes are up and VFX is in full swing again, that all of their artists are primed and ready to go. So there's a lot of different things kind of wrapped in that are being addressed by this thing. But this is another one of those things that a massive shout out to our CEO, Rodolphe, for being able to say, as a company, this is something that we value, and this is something that we're going to put time and effort and ultimately money as a small company into providing this free resource for the community. So that's just a whole other thing that I spoke earlier about, how I'm always bragging on his character and just his direction and vision as a leader. And this is just another one of those artifacts of proof that he is legit, and just being willing as a company to say, this is what we're going to do. And it's free. So
Yep,
hopefully you guys will continue to support us.
Actions speak louder than words, and that's a very nice action.
Yep.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. You really hit all the points. It's at a perfect time. It's great for juniors at large companies or small companies to beef up their own stuff. And no, Ro, he was saying that before you got here. So just rewind a little bit. You'll see yourself.
Yep. And yeah, so again, as with all the products or any projects that we do, it's really just trying to put artists at the center of everything that we're doing. So even with this, the library is 100% royalty free. So if there's any actor or talent included in there, we also have their release forms and their consent for those shots to be used for that as well. And so it's just a lot of those different steps that we've taken to truly make this a single resource for everyone. And if I haven't mentioned, it's 100% free, because that's also a big selling point, is its price. And finally, if you're here today, I have included a link to some early access clips. So if you're here right now, you can actually get these.
Wow.
Today.
Wow. And we're going ASMR too.
Yeah.
That's for free too.
Value. So much value packed into this episode. So what's the best way to distribute this link, Jeff?
I will put it into the YouTube chat. The YouTube chat. Let's see. Is it so people can copy and paste that. I'm also going to include it in the description of the video later on. I'm going to try to write a note to myself to do that. Add it to the description. And then, yeah, so that's a link to the deck, and the deck, at the end of the deck, has the link to the view early access clips. And yeah, it has a list of those clips. I don't think we can see it, but let's see. Oh yeah, there it is. It's a good old list of clips.
Yeah, so we got, people shooting some guns, people bleeding out on the side of the road, everything you could expect.
Everything you need.
Love how casually just, yeah. I believe
Drive is only being okay.
I believe. Here we go. Yeah.
Nice.
So, again, this is really just a quick tease of what's coming in October, because that's where we've been putting all of our energy and effort. But yeah, I am, if you can't tell, extremely, extremely stoked for these.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great thing. It's great that ActionVFX is doing this, and there they are. The quality looks fantastic. Really nicely shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about, because we've got some like heads-up display graphics, different tracking markers, because this one's on a slide, and really just shooting for real-world scenarios. That was another thing that was really requested, was, hey, every green screen we get isn't 100% perfect. So the practice footage library shouldn't be 100% perfect. It should be more realistic than anything. So that's not to say that we purposefully made things bad, but we just tried to mimic real world scenarios as much as possible. So
yeah. That
All right.
is awesome, and that is a great way to wrap this show up. Um, I think there was one question, but I think that was kind of for me actually, so don't worry about that one. But it's BJH talking about potentially getting a new episode of Logic Live that is geared toward seeing how different artists work with this stuff and seeing their different workflows. It's a great idea. We'll have to think about that and talk about that. And I'll
Yeah.
let you know if it happens, and you can hang out and see what people are doing
Yes.
with
I'll
it.
also get our CEO on for that one. I'm sure he would
Ooh.
love to chat about that. I'll
Yeah,
volunteer him right now.
seeing it out in the wild. It's fun. But yeah, if no one else has other questions for Luke for now, I think it's about time that we get to the most exciting part of the episode, which is the giveaway. And the best part, now that we've announced this special announcement, is that if you don't end up winning, if you're not one of the 3 out of 20 people who won, you can still, coming up very soon. I think I saw the date. It was like a month away, maybe less than a month away. You'll be able to
October
get your own
10th.
October 10th, around a month. You'll be able to get
Yep.
your own free ActionVFX assets to use however you wish. So I will bid you adieu, thank you, and we'll see you in the patrons Q&A chat right after this on Zoom. So thanks for being here, and awesome. Thanks so much for sharing everything about yourself and ActionVFX and the upcoming stuff. It's awesome. Very awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff, and to the community and everyone that tuned in. It really means a lot that I have been invited here. So thanks for having me back again, and maybe I'll bring more free stuff next time.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to keep improving ActionVFX so we can invite you back. I think that's the rule.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, thanks again. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Okay, it's giveaway time. Let's see. I have to one last double check that the names are the latest. Hopefully everyone is registered and you're all ready to say something in the chat when it is, if you win. So here we go to the prize time. And you know what? I think this is a serious giveaway. We're giving away 250 right now credits of ActionVFX. We're gonna turn off the fun music. This is serious right here. No fun music. This is nothing but drum rolls here. So good luck to everyone in the list. Who will be the winner? It's none other than Eric Lau. You are the first winner of 250 ActionVFX credits. Congratulations. Let's keep this train going. Keep the train going. Who will be the second winner of 250 ActionVFX credits? None other than Bernd Hildebrand. Congratulations. Oh, but I forgot my rule. My rule is you have to be here. So, Eric Lau, are you in the chat? Bernd Hildebrand, are you in the chat? I think BJH is Bernd Hildebrand. So, Bernd is walking away with 250. I'm looking for Eric Lau in the chat. So, while Eric finds himself potentially, we'll just keep moving on. BJH is Bernd. Good. Moving on. We're gonna do our. Why not me? I don't know. We're gonna move on to our big winner, and then we'll circle back if I don't see from our first winner. So here we go. This third winner is for 500 ActionVFX credits. This is it. And it's going to David Kreitz. Congratulations, David Kreitz. I think I saw you talking earlier. Are you here to receive? I wish I can give you the check, a $500 ActionVFX check to hand over to you. David Kreitz, are you here? And so one last chance for Eric. David Kreitz is here. I see the name. One last chance for our first winner. I think it was Eric Lau. I don't see him in the chat, so I think we're going to have to give that first one away to someone else who's here. That's the rule. these big giveaways, you got to be here. Got to be here. You can't just sign up and not be here. So we're doing it. So we have another, someone will be winning 250 ActionVFX credits. Here it is. Drum roll, please. 250 ActionVFX credits going to Carlos Campos. Are you here? Are you here to receive 250 in ActionVFX credits? Hello, Carlos. The drum roll, please. Is he in the chat? I'm going crazy with these sound effects. Carlos Campos. I'll give you a little bit. Carlos Campos is here. We have our winners. Oh, it's so I need some elevator music here. I learned. But anyway, we did it. Congratulations to all of the winners. You are walking away with some good stuff from ActionVFX. Congratulations. Congratulations. We did it. So let's head on over to our final slideshow here. We made it. Didn't think I'd make it through that, but we made it through that. Coming up on Logik Live. Where are we? Oh my God. Uh-oh. I done goofed. I failed to animate this graphic, so please forgive me, but coming up on Logik Live next week, if you could just imagine what's behind this graphic here. Next week, Andy is returning to the hot seat, and we have a brand new special guest. Some people from Synology will be here to talk about all things storage, workflow, and data recovery. But we would like your help. There's a post up on the Logik forums, thus my screenshot here, by Andy himself as of about 3 hours ago, asking you, the community, what you want out of the episode. If you're curious about Synology is right for you, or if you want to know more about some of the specific use cases, post in that thread, and that will help cater the episode to you, which I think is pretty cool. That's 1 week away, the next Sunday coming up, so start thinking about what you might want to ask on that thread. If you haven't already signed up with the forum, please head on over and do so at forum.logik.tv. While you're there, sign up and head on over to the Logik Discord, where we're having our more informal chats and hangouts. We have a new episode of the Logik podcast that was just released the other day. It's none other than Shannon Lee. I've gotten to talk with her just a bit over the years, and it was great to hear her story and to dig deeper into her life and understand her pathway. So if you're interested in hearing about Shannon's flame journey, take a listen on your preferred podcasting platform. YouTube live audience. We are on the precipice of greatness. If you look down just beneath this video, you'll see the number says 1.99K. In the advanced view, I can see that number is actually 1,992. We're 8 away from getting 2,000 subscribers. I'm very excited that we've grown week after week, and it's been very consistent. So if you have any friends or coworkers that aren't subscribed, now's the time, so that on the next episode, we get to celebrate the 2,000 subscriber milestone together. We got this. So of course, that's my long-winded way of saying, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to support what we're doing here on Logik, please become a patron by subscribing at patreon.com/LogikTV. Today was the first episode in a while we didn't give away any swag, so if you're feeling swaggy, be sure to check out the Logik merch store to pick up your own Logik merch. Big thank you to VFX for sponsoring Logik Live. If you'd like to save 15% on nearly all of their offerings, you can head on over to logik.tv/VFX and click on one of those links to take advantage of that awesome savings. Thank you to AJA for also sponsoring Logik Live. They've been together with Flame since 2006. And a final thank you to Hot Spring. They are the future of VFX outsourcing, connecting you to other artists from around the world to help get your projects done. You can find them at thehotspring.com. And that brings us to the end. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Luke for giving us his time here on a Sunday. But he's not done giving us his time just yet. He's joining us over on Zoom to take part in the patrons Q&A to dig deeper into ActionVFX, answer any questions you might have we couldn't get to during the show. So I'll see you patrons there. I'll see Luke over there. But for now, thanks again for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all. We'll see you next time here on Logik Live.